Yeah. Okay, mine is really an atheist question. My question is this: I come from a very theological family, a bunch of theists. And one of the things that they always say, and I never have a definitive enough answer, is, well, there must be someone. Come on, man. Come on. We live in this life. And I always, to me, logically, I just say, no, there doesn't have to be someone. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't go anywhere with them. I'm trying to figure out a way of explaining to them that there doesn't have to be that someone, that overarching power that makes their life palatable, makes their life meaningful. And that is a dilemma for me, how to breach that with them. Hmm. Yeah. I think it's a tough question. I don't get too many good answers on it. And I listen to you guys all the time, and that is my dilemma in a nutshell, from the perspective of the atheist talking to the theist.
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to breach that, because that is like the framework that they operate under. We get that a lot on the show. Right. If God didn't create everything, then who did? It's this framework that says there's got to be a who, and it's the same way.
And you know what?
Go ahead.
The one thing about that is that when I hear these things and we hear about, there must be a designer or there must be a who, don't you think? And maybe we have to approach it in this way: is that is a very humanistic view in the sense of humanity. We can't see outside ourselves anything acting other than we do.
Yeah.
So it must be like us. So maybe that's the nut to crack.
I guess
in that argument that. Go ahead.
I mean, one argument I've heard from biologists or philosophers who are grounded in evolution is that basically it's a survival advantage to see some kind of agency in something. In statistics, we always talk about like type 1 errors and type 2 errors, where one is, assuming that something is true when it isn't, and the other being the assumption that something isn't true when it is. And in some cases, it's safer to err on the side of caution and say, is that a shadow or a guy with a stone knife trying to kill me?
Right.
In many cases, a little extra healthy paranoia is valuable to a survival instinct. And so people are sort of wired basically to jump to the conclusion that something is intelligent and specifically has a very human-like intelligence. And maybe that's what led people to make up these stories about, well, there's a guy, but he's really big and he lives on Mount Olympus and he makes thunderbolts. And things just sort of drifted from there. So, yeah, I'm agreeing with you, basically.
Yeah, then when you got to top of Mount Olympus and you're like, oh my gosh, shit, he's not here. Okay, well, we got to change this up a little because he's not here.
Right? Yeah, they just move it up higher.
To the point. Now we've moved it up so high that now he just exists within, because now we can't look without because we've done that with telescopes.
But and then eventually you get to the point where it's like, I don't know if it's like really a person. Maybe it's aliens or time travelers or something.
Or just this kind of ethereal intelligence that just exists.
That justifies the laws of logic.
Just another quick just comment on the last caller. Mm-hmm. I think sometimes we allow them to use the word theory too loosely. We don't challenge them on what a scientific theory is.
Right.
Yeah.
I think maybe that. Huh?
That's true. There's kind of a colloquial theory that people use, and then there's the scientific theory that
Yeah, and this notion that Einstein's work was a theory the second he did it, that's not true. Until there was a preponderance of evidence, it was a hypothesis.
Right.
But there's, you got to kind of strike a balance when you're talking to people who don't think in scientific terms very much, because you could spend all your time arguing about whether the words they used are the appropriate ones. And I think that is rarely fruitful. But yeah, your point is taken that a lot of times people call something a theory when it is anything but.
Yeah.
Right.
Just a conjecture.
Okay, thanks for your times, guys.
Thank you for calling.
Thanks.
Yep.
Okay, dear friends,